Habargani, Hotep, Assalamu alaikum, praise the Lord, everybody. Welcome to African Tendencies with Baba Love. I'm super excited you decided to pop in and join with us on today as we are dealing with the topic today, the significance of Pan-Africanism from a Christian perspective on today. But listen, before we delve into this enriching discussion, let's set a foundation to understand Pan-Africanism, right? Pan-Africanism is a social political movement and ideology that advocates for the unity, solidarity, and the empowerment of people of African descent worldwide and in the diaspora, right? And remember, it emerged, right? It emerged in response to colonialism and exportation of Africa by European powers during the late 19th and 20th centuries. And remember that Pan-Africanism, it seeks to address challenges faced by African people, including colonialism, racism, and economic exploitation, social injustice, but by promoting collective action, self-reliance, and cultural pride, right? Now let's talk about the historical roots and the early movements, right? Listen, the early resistance movements throughout the era of the transatlantic slave trade, right, where our people, enslaved Africans and our descendants resisted oppression and maintained cultural connections to the continent, to Mother Africa, right? And this resistance laid the groundwork for later Pan-African movements. And I wouldn't say necessarily the first one, but the very successful one for sure was our brothers and sisters in Haiti. The Haiti Revolution, the Hatti Revolution, 1791 to 1804, this successful uprising of enslaved Africans in Haiti against the French colonial rule inspired solidarity among people of African descent worldwide. And watch this, it demonstrated the possibility of overthrowing colonial powers. And that might give some understanding of why Hatti is going through what it's going through throughout history after that, right? Because it was a model for how you overthrow colonial powers, right? But then we also have to look at the Back to Africa movement, right? And this happened this happened in the 19th centuries. Movements such as this, right, led by figures, Marcus Garvey, which is credited as being the part of the Black nationalist movement, right, promoted the return of African descendants to Africa as a means of escaping discrimination and, again, reclaiming our heritage, right? And then when you're talking about Pan-Africanism, you got to mention the Pan-African Congresses, right? The Congresses, right, which took place in the 1900s. And listen, these congresses was organized by intellectuals and activists. Very famous one, right? W.E.B. Du Bois, right? The Pan-African Congresses brought together African diaspora leaders and African intellectuals to discuss issues facing people of African descent and to advocate for African independence, right? But then you got to look at the colonial resistance and independence movements that happened actually on the continent, right? And throughout the 20th century. African nations fought against colonial rule and asserted the right to self-determination. Kujichagulia, self-determination. See, Pan-Africanism played a significant role in fostering solidarity among African nations and supporting the struggle for independence actually on the continent, right? And then let's look at a few leadership figures in the Pan-African movement, especially on the continent, right? Kwame Nkrumah, right? And Sekou Touré, right? These are African leaders. Of course, Kwame Nkrumah is from Ghana, and Sekou Touré of Guinea were instrumental in promoting Pan-Africanism on the continent, right? And in particular, Nkrumah advocated for the political and economic unity of African states as a means of achieving collective liberation and development, right? And then The Organization of African Union is important, right? It was established in 1963, and it aimed to promote unity and cooperation among African states, again, on the continent. But in 2002, it was replaced by the African Union. And again, it continued the work towards the integration, right, and development of the African continent, right? And these historical roots illustrate how the continent and the diaspora, but in particular, how Pan-Africanism emerged as a response, again, to injustices faced by African people and people of African descent, and how it evolved into the multifaceted movement advocating, here it is, advocating for liberation, unity, and empowerment of African people worldwide. Envision a world, right, where unity transcends division, right? Where hope overcomes despair, and where every voice is not just heard, but cherished. Listen, my brothers and sisters, that is the essence of Pan-Africanism. As followers of Jesus Christ, listen, we are called to embody love, justice, and unity. And listen, as Pan-Africanism beautifully echoes these principles for advocating for solidarity and empowerment across the African continent and the diaspora, right? So today, as we're diving into why Pan-Africanism makes sense or is needed more than ever, especially for African Americans, especially for the Black church and those in the diaspora, right? And so, for African Americans, Pan-Africanism serves as a beacon of cultural pride, resilience, honoring our shared heritage, and inspiring us to continue the legacy of the Civil Rights Movement, the legacy of the Black Power movement, and even gives a fresh voice, really, to the Black Lives Matter movement. But within the Black church, Pan-Africanism is deeply intertwined with faith and spirituality, embodying the biblical mandate for what? For love, for justice, and yes, for liberation, right? And listen, and for those in the diaspora, Pan-Africanism serves as a unifying force, a bridging continents and cultures and fostering connections that transcend borders, right? So listen, as we journey forward in these episodes that are coming up, heed the words of Kwame Nkrumah, right? He says, I'm not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. So let us embrace our shared heritage, celebrate the diversity of our community, and work hand in hand towards a brighter future. Join me next time on African Tendencies with Baba Love, where we are exploring the intersections of faith, culture, and community. Until then, stay empowered, stay enlightened, stay united. Ashe. Hey, I bet you thought I forgot. Listen, we want to thank the good people here at the Kahawa House Coffee Roastery right here in Springfield, Ohio, for allowing us to use their space for recording on today. Listen, this is the best coffee you ever want to drink. It is sourced straight from East Africa. They have coffee here from Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, right here, shipped straight here to Springfield and roasted here. So listen, if you want to get a cup or a bag, you can go to KahawaHouseCoffee.com. KahawaHouseCoffee.com. www.KahawaHouseCoffee.com, where they are curating exceptional coffee from East Africa.